Hey guys, it's Oluvids, and today, January 31st, 2022, marks the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. And we actually got a lot of stuff going on right now, so of course it's the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and Kingdom Hearts is also celebrating it with this new render of Sora in front of Scala at Kylem, and it's kind of a reference to one of the other pictures with Cloud and Sephiroth standing kind of side by side-ish, looking at each other. This actually isn't the first time they did that. They also did something like that for the 20th anniversary with Sora looking up at the mysterious tower, which, by the way, that was cut from the game. I'm still salty about that. But yeah, this isn't the first time they did that. But also, we got some new art from Tetsuya and Nomura, and this logo that Nomura made features Cloud, Zack, and Sephiroth. This is kind of like another logo he did, I think, back for the 10th anniversary. And it's kind of like an upgraded version of that. It's a lot more detailed, and Sephiroth's wing is just insanely huge. Really cool art. Maybe someone could do a colored version eventually. It would be cool. But yeah, pretty cool logo. They re-released the whole intro to Final Fantasy VII, just celebrating, how the whole thing started. We even have Astro's Playroom celebrating it with the little Easter egg they had in their game with Cloud's Buster Sword in the ground, which is a reference to the start screen in the original game and in Remake. But I think the biggest thing that everyone's going to be looking at is the 25th anniversary message from Yoshinori Kitase, which was the director of the original game, and he is the project producer for Remake, as well as Tetsuya Nomura, who was the original character designer for PS1 Final Fantasy VII, along with him now being the project creative director. So anyway, let's see what they have to say. So the first one's from Yoshinori Kitase, and it says, "This year marks the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. It also marks the 35th anniversary of the Final Fantasy series itself, which means that Final Fantasy VII was born in the 10th year of that 35-long-year journey. Personally, I had always thought of Final Fantasy VII as a recent game, but it has now actually become one of the games from the early series. Even so, we were honored last year when it was voted as the third most popular game ever by gamers in the Japanese TV poll. That we could achieve something like that is very much thanks to all the support we have had from our fans over the long years. Thank you so much." Final Fantasy VII has re-emerged as the latest game in the series once again, with titles like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, and you can look forward to even more exciting new developments in the future. From Yoshinori Kitase. And we got another message from Tetsuya Nomura. Of course, this one says, "With the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII this year, the game has now existed for a quarter century. I am truly grateful to the fans who have loved Final Fantasy VII over these 25 years, and thanks to your support, Cloud has never felt far away over that time." Continuing on from the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier has now opened for service, and next we have Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis waiting in the wings too. With all these new exciting projects, I get a real sense of how much more people are supporting Final Fantasy VII. Not just the fans from the original game, but also those who have never experienced it and are being drawn to the unique world of Final Fantasy VII. And there will be even more new Final Fantasy VII projects that have started up after the remake coming in the future too. The team will see this 25th anniversary as a waypoint on our journey with Final Fantasy VII, and will continue pressing ahead to even greater things. So please keep supporting us going forward. So basically, not only has, Final Fantasy VII really been out for 25 whole years, but also there's even more projects coming even after Final Fantasy VII Remake, that whole thing's completed, because there's more projects coming in the future. As well as Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, which if you don't remember, it's kind of like a remake of the original game along with all the other compilation stuff that came before. So yeah, who knows what could be coming in the future. If you don't know, Final Fantasy VII has actually had a ton of games outside of just the original PS1 game. It's had, Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, Before Crisis, Dirge of Cerberus, G-Bike, Snowboarding. It's had literally a whole ton of games that came out for this series. As well as First Soldier that recently came out, and now Remake. Just tons of stuff. But not only that, it's also had other things, other types of media as well. It actually had an anime called Lost Order, as well as a whole movie called Advent Children, which is a sequel to the original game. And so, yeah, this could mean a lot more than just new games coming in the future. This could mean more movies. This could mean a TV show or an anime. This could mean a lot of stuff, tons of stuff. We really don't know what is coming, but we do know for sure that something is coming. But yeah, I know a lot of my viewers are mainly Kingdom Hearts people, but Final Fantasy VII is a really good game. It's a really good RPG. The Final Fantasy series in general is really good. If you like Kingdom Hearts, you'll probably like the Final Fantasy series. And, 7 is a really good game. It has probably one of the more unique worlds in RPG games in general. It's kind of a world where it's like you have things like cars and motorcycles and rockets, but you still have people using swords and magic, and it's all kind of combined into a really cool world. You even have a whole thing with Shinra, an electric company, basically running the world and using the planet's energy to just power their empire and taking over everything. and building up their own military and all that stuff. It's a really interesting world, and I don't know any other game that's exactly like it, so it's a really unique story. Gameplay is really good, ATB is really nice. I have a whole video explaining what ATB is. And over the course of the last couple of weeks, I've actually been playing the other compilation stuff. The original Final Fantasy VII I played back in 2018, but for a while that was the only version of Final Fantasy VII I've ever played. Over the past couple of weeks, I played Crisis Core and Before Crisis for the first time on my Twitch. It was a pretty fun time, and there's a great additions to the Final Fantasy VII series. Once I beat Pokemon Legends Arceus, I'm going to be streaming Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time, so we're going to see how that is too, and eventually Dirge of Cerberus. And yeah, there's a huge Final Fantasy VII series, so even if you only played the original Final Fantasy VII or only played Remake, there's still tons of stuff to explore over the course of the whole 25 years of Final Fantasy VII existing. But yeah, Cloud is probably the most popular Final Fantasy pro tag. He's even been in Kingdom Hearts, as you guys know already. He's been in Smash Bros, so it's like he's a pretty big deal, and I can see why they make so much games for Final Fantasy VII, because that's just their most influential one. And their first 3D one, it was pretty much it represented a huge leap for the series. But yeah, that's it for me. And if you're a fan of Final Fantasy VII, I do actually have some other content on that. I actually made mods for Final Fantasy VII Remake, so if you have the PC version, you're going to want to check that out. It actually adds the PS1 menu sounds back over to the game. And if you're feeling nostalgic, it's a perfect thing to use for this anniversary since we're remembering the original game. And also check out this mod I made. It's for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Two mods actually. One of them just completely silences the music on the start screen, so it makes it kind of like the original game, how it was just the Buster Sword in the ground and that's it. No music, no anything, just little sound effects and the sword in the ground. Or I also have the PS1 version of Prelude in there if you want to replace that. This is mainly for the whole anniversary thing, nostalgia and all that. So that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.